10 different strategies. I'll break down a lineup for the first Democratic primary debate.
Special Counsel Robert Mueller will publicly testify in front of the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees next month. And Senator Mitch McConnell met with 9/11 first responders on Tuesday about additional funding for their health care fund.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:59 on Wednesday, June the 26th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. It's going to be a warm one, so you're going to want to buckle up and drink tons of water. But the good news is no rains in the forecast for quite a while. Let's bring Brandon in on this Wednesday to get a better breakdown of what to expect. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to everyone watching this morning. We're going to continue to see the possibilities for some fog. Let's take a look here on the hazard cam this morning, and we're going to continue to see that here outside the WYMT studios for a little while longer, but it's starting to back off, so that's some good news. Blue skies will be around a little bit later. We're seeing a few little clouds this morning, but high pressure moved those out pretty quickly. Problem areas: Harlan, Jacksboro, and Ashland. That's where we're seeing limited visibility. Williamsburg too, but anything less than 5 miles is the real concern this morning. That's very limited visibility. Looking at temperatures in the upper 50s there in Jonesville. It's actually dropped a couple degrees, but most of us in the 60s this morning, low 60s at that. So the temperature change is about anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees, maybe closer to 7 there, Moorhead and Logan from yesterday morning. The forecast today, though, sunny and hot after that fog lifts. 88 a daytime high. Rest of the forecast on the way here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Miami, Florida is playing host to 20 Democratic presidential hopefuls who will debate on stage for the first time. The Democratic National Committee randomly split the groups into two. And WYMT Washington Bureau Chief Jacqueline Policastro has more about the ones we will see tonight.
If you don't know these names and faces now, you will by Thursday morning. Tulsi Gabbard, Elizabeth Warren, John Delaney, Tim Ryan, Bill de Blasio, Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Julian Castro, and Jay Inslee. Every candidate wants to make an impact at the first Democratic presidential debate.
Big idea is don't make a mistake and see if you can't do something that sort of distinguishes yourself so that you get money.
This group is from all over the country and represents different kinds of voters. From Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts,
so she's got to sort of overcome that Harvard elite aspect of it, because there are a lot of people in this country that are not Harvard elite.
To Tim Ryan.
If you are from Ohio, as Ryan is, you're in a better shape to sort of get the Rust Belt vote.
They're senators, congressmen, governors, mayors, and former cabinet members.
Of traveling to all 99 counties.
John Delaney from Maryland was the first to declare his candidacy nearly 2 years ago. He's focusing his campaign in Iowa, home to the first caucus.
He may not be a big name nationwide, but he may have his name known very well where it matters right now.
But none of these candidates will have the chance to debate against the man seen as the frontrunner, former Vice President Joe Biden. He's slated to take the stage Thursday night. In the Washington News Bureau, I'm Jacqueline Policastro.
Now, coming in September, Greta Van Susteren will provide in-depth analysis on WYMT every Sunday. Full Court Press with Greta Van Susteren shines a spotlight on the local impacts of national politics. The show premieres Sunday, September 8th. Well, late into the night Tuesday, House Democrats announced what many on the left have been waiting for. Former Special Counsel Robert Mueller will testify before the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees in an open session on Wednesday, July 17th. It is the first time Mueller will answer questions publicly about his 22-month investigation into Russian contacts with President Trump's campaign.
Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report.
Now, that comes from his only public statement about the 448-page report, which was last month when he said the report should speak for itself. The Victims Fund for sick and dying 9/11 first responders is running out of money. 9/11 first responders met face-to-face with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell yesterday. They say McConnell's promise to get funds extended ahead of schedule and seems more hopeful about the situation than just a few weeks ago. They say Kentucky senior senator committed to a vote on the Victims Fund in August.
For the first time, he said he sensed the urgency. Unfortunately, there's more people sick than the money that exists in the fund currently.
Now, no firm plans were mentioned. They say for now they are taking him at his word. President Trump signed an executive order yesterday to establish a White House Council on eliminating barriers to affordable housing development. The council will consist of members from across 8 federal agencies and will be chaired by Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Ben Carson. The council will recommend ways to reduce statutory regulation and administrative burdens at all levels of government that hinder affordable housing development. Meanwhile, the First Lady's spokeswoman will be the next White House press secretary and communications director. Stephanie Grisham has been the communications director for the First Lady for 2 years. Grisham will be assuming the roles formerly held by Bill Shine, who departed as White House communications director in March, and Sarah Sanders, who has said her last day will be this Friday. Exports of rare earth magnets from China to the United States jumped 20% in the month of May, all on fears that Beijing will soon cut off shipments. China controls most of the world's rare earth materials, used in everything from medicine to cell phones to ballistic missiles. As the trade war rolls on, one U.S. company is working to boost its rare earth reserves. Claire Sebastian has more.
3, 2, 1, fire in the hole.
Blasting through the rock.
Very good.
To reach the precious metals underneath.
Beautiful sight to see.
These are busy times here in Mountain Pass, California. A mine thrown into the spotlight by the US-China trade dispute.
Is this the busiest you've known it?
Right now it is, and we continue to accelerate more and more each day.
This is the only rare earths mine in the United States, but just 2 years ago it was sitting idle after the previous owners went bankrupt. Now though, it's well and truly back up and running. The current owners say it accounts for more than 10% of global rare earth supplies.
Rare earths are 17 naturally occurring elements, crucial ingredients in everything from cell phones to electric cars.
This is very valuable product right here.
The co-chairman of the mine, James Litinsky, is aware he's leading a lone US competitor in an industry dominated by China, where labor costs are cheaper and environmental rules less strict.
If there's going to be an American rare earth industry, it's going to be led by us. We're it. So this is actually the product. This is the concentrate coming out of the mill. And we will package this into those containers over there. And that is currently the product that we're shipping.
So right now, everything you produce, everything goes to China.
Yes, that's correct.
That's because China processes much of the material from other countries, currently producing 90% of the world's supply. Beijing recently threatened to use that dominance as leverage in the trade dispute, hinting it could restrict rare earth exports, cutting off not only US companies, but also the military, which uses rare earths in jet engines, satellites, and missile defense systems. The Pentagon told us they're, quote, working closely with the President, Congress, and the industrial base to mitigate US reliance on China for rare earths.
My first reaction is, wow, what have we bought?
Mountain Pass has its own plans to reduce its reliance on China, this massive processing facility that they plan to get up and running by next year.
There really is nothing like this facility in the world. The scale of it, the amount of investment that has gone into it. And there were a lot of people who doubted that we could get this thing going again.
Has the trade war provided more impetus to get this off the ground?
So there's definitely a greater sense of urgency.
This plant would allow them to sell separated rare earths directly to global companies. Litinsky says it's a mission he feels the US government needs to support.
And if the United States of America is going to be a leading power in the world, we need to continue to grow our economy. And so there needs to be a recognition that the industries of the future drive GDP, they drive employment, and ultimately that will drive your military budget. And so as a matter of national security, we need to lead in these industries of tomorrow.
A recognition that could help turn this mineral-rich soil into an American rare earths revival and a viable alternative to China. Claire Sebastian, CNN, Mountain Pass, California.
Meanwhile, farmers are still hurting from the trade war. U.S. soybean, corn, and wheat growers have been battling tariffs from China for nearly 1 year now. They say they have already lost a lot, and farmers are fearing further losses could be in their future. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue says American farmers are, quote, one of the casualties.
President Trump has a lot of respect for farmers and ranchers across this country.
He appreciates your patience. He understands that it's tough out there.
The president is heading to the G20 summit in Japan this week, where he will meet with China's president to try to get trade talks back on track after a deal fell apart last month. A new report shows U.S. federal debt is expected to keep climbing. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office reports it will reach unprecedented levels if current laws don't change. The CBO predicts an increase in debt from the current 78% of the GDP to 144% by 2049, the biggest increase in history. Despite news of a possible fiscal crisis, the CBO's report points out that U.S. debt and deficit are expected to grow slower than previous estimates. Back here at home, the fall of the coal industry continues to burden thousands in eastern Kentucky. According to the most recent report from the Appalachian Regional Commission, the report released Tuesday shows that between 2016 and 2017, income dropped by more than $1,000 per person in Bell and Whitley counties. The annual report surveys 420 counties across Appalachia. Of the 80 counties defined as economically distressed, around half are right here in eastern Kentucky. To see just where your county ranks, just search for this story on WYMT.com. Well, in other news this morning, a Pike County native and EKU football player is taking his first steps on a long road to recovery. He was shot early Sunday morning in Lexington. We brought his story to you yesterday. Police say Cameron Catron was hit by gunfire outside Two Keys Tavern. Cameron is from Pike County and played high school football at Belfry, winning 4 state championships before going on to play at Eastern Kentucky University. According to a post on social media, Cameron's mother says he is now out of the ICU and able to walk a short distance. Police are still looking for the suspected gunman. A centerpiece of a small community in Pike County went up in flames Monday night. JR's Pizza has been in business for nearly 17 years. The building itself has been there for decades longer. WYMT's Connor James talked with people in the area and the store's owner about what comes next.
Built over decades.
The whole community just enjoyed JR's.
Gone in a matter of hours.
There's history and it just breaks my heart. It's going to be sad with it gone.
Missy Lucas has spent her life across from the shop where JR's Pizza once stood. She and her son watched Tuesday morning as a fire tore through the building.
He was in a panic. He said, "Mom, JR's is on fire." And immediately me and him, our hearts broke.
The small restaurant was a community staple.
I don't know, people really be missing this because it's part of the neighborhood, been for years.
Gladys Bentley owned the store up until 2003.
I haven't been to bed since I saw that last night. It just tears me up. There's just so many memories here.
Belinda Tackett is now the owner. This place was more than just a business to her.
I'm away from home.
Nearly 17 years of 7-day work weeks and countless hours behind the counter.
It's my livelihood. You know, I don't know where I'm going from here, but...
Despite the heartbreak behind her,
I'll make it.
In Pike County, Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
The cause of the fire is still not known. Crews have had to come back throughout the day on Tuesday due to the building catching back on fire.
Things pretty quiet this morning as you head out the door, but it's going to crank up pretty quick when it comes to heat and humidity. Those humidities, or that dew points and humidity will start to increase throughout the day along with those temperatures. Visibility this morning, we start with that, and you can see some limited visibility in several areas. We're seeing some patchy dense fog, so be careful of that heading out the door. Temperatures in the 60s for most locations. Our one lone 50 there, 57 in Jonesville. Across the state, 70 Paducah, 60 in the Tri-Cities. That's one of our cooler spots in the region this morning. 61 in Charleston, 65 Cincinnati, and 70 in Louisville and in Nashville. 12-hour planner for today. 88's our forecast high. It's going to be a hot afternoon, and that humidity will continue to increase throughout the day and throughout the week. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, it's 6:13. Thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. One company is taking their cookies to out-of-this-world heights. We will tell you about their newest venture.